Financial Survival Network, helping you survive and thrive in the new economy. Go to CarrieLutz.com and sign up for 30 free micro trainings on financial survival.
$1490 WGCH. This is Carrie Lutz. You're listening to the Financial Survival Network. With me now is Darryl Schoon. And if you're wondering when this collapse is going to occur, if it's going to occur, when you need to start worrying about it, he's the one to provide you with the answers. He's been way ahead of the game back in the early 2000s. He knew this was coming. Darryl, great to have you back on.
Thanks, Carrie. You know, it may be more than coincidence that I'm preparing my monthly little subscription-based article as we speak. And the title of it is, interestingly enough, given your program today, Earthquake Ahead. And let me read you what my first paragraph is. The stock market continues to advance even as investors withdraw funds and the Greek debt crisis threatens to implode. Whether this is a sign of a continuing bull market rally or an eerie calm before the advent of disaster isn't known. My bet is on disaster. And that's where we find ourselves today. We're headed towards the cliff. There's no way of avoiding it. And there's also really no way of telling when it's going to happen. But we are a lot closer than we used to be. My metaphor about this is like a juggler. And central bankers are jugglers. And they have balls of credit and debt up in the air, expansion and contraction, and that's basically the deal, thrown in with supply and demand. That's basically the balls that they have in the air. That's generally what they have to deal with. But we are in the end game, and the end game is where the debt ball got a whole lot bigger than the credit ball. And their palliative to this, their solution, is to try and make the credit ball bigger than the debt ball. So they flooded the markets with liquidity, the defaulting debt ball. What they've done is they've increased, as a result, both the credit ball and the debt ball, which further distorts the supply and demand ball. It's like watching a NASCAR race and one of the cars is on fire. And we're all up in the stands, and flames are shooting out of the guy's engine, and we're watching him veer and veer and veer. Now, you know, the yellow flag is out, but the guy is still racing around. The producers don't want the show to end, because if they do, they'd have to give refund.
Right, and
so they're letting the race continue.
It's not Danica Patrick driving that car, I hope.
They don't even have her.
Hate to see her get hurt, you know. I'm really concerned about her well-being.
So they can so they can get more viewers. But when this goes, when this car takes when this race ends, the entire venue is going to go up in flames. And there's not going to be any doors. That's the problem. It's like it's like not only is there going to be disaster on the racetrack, but everybody in the stands is going to be nailed too. That includes the people who are waiting for a wreck. That includes the little kid who came there because his father wanted to do something in the afternoon. And that includes the person selling hot dogs who really doesn't like race cars, who'd rather be somewhere else that day. This is how deep it is. We are truly in the end game. James Quinn wrote a great piece. I forget what the title is, but it's a wonderful, wonderful piece. The extended pretend is coming to an end. And that is virtually the same thing. Is that the way how we've been doing this game? Another metaphor is kicking the can down the road. You know, what we had last year that saved the European banks was the ECB giving them 1% money for 3 years and taking anything as collateral. Right. Anything as collateral. Well, it saved the banks, the European banks, temporarily. Mm-hmm. But like I say, those balls that the credit meisters are juggling are getting heavier. And your question, Carrie, was, well, when should people start worrying? Well, if you're not concerned now, you know, there's still time. There is still time, but there's not much. I mean, gold and silver are making a move right now as we speak. They've been consolidating. They were shoved down by the boys with the negative lease rates, flooding the markets with gold. The paper boys dumped thousands of contracts of paper silver on the market, and they weren't able to keep silver below $35 the other day.
Hit 37 today.
Wow.
I guess I should give the date and time so if people hear this later. It's February 28th. Google still has not recognized it's a leap year. Don't look at your Google Calendar yet. And we're talking it's 2:30 Eastern Standard Time. And it hit 37, pulled back a little bit, and that is amazing strength for barbarous relic market.
Well, and given the fact that when it was below 35, pushing above 35, they dumped thousands of contracts of paper silver on the market to shove it back down, and it went down temporarily, and it came back up to 35. And now that it's at 37, shows the underlying strength that's happening. So if you haven't started to worry, other people have. And this is one of the things to note about this precious metal rush is that the East, China specifically, is buying heavily. And one of the things in my articles today, I just wrote, the West is selling, the East is buying. That's just another indication of the shifting of power and wealth in this world. We're in momentous times. Everybody, it's just human nature, Kerry, that the framework that we see the present is based upon our past experience, and that's the trouble. The present is unlike anything we've ever experienced in the past. Yeah. Those who were here during the Great Depression, they're dead. They're gone. They have no memory of it. Most of us were raised on a greased road of credit, of easy credit. And I mean, that's something that has never happened in the history of the world.
Yep, you make a great point there, because my parents were alive during the Depression, and my father's family were hit particularly hard, and that's been etched on my DNA, and I've been planning for this probably my whole adult life, probably a bit too soon. But this boom that's coming to an end here, it's really going to hit China extremely hard, isn't it?
Well, the Chinese got to the table late. Their ascent was spectacular, and it was fueled by the U.S. letting them into the World Trade Organization in 1998.
I remember.
And that's really because the U.S. multinational corporations wanted to break the unions in the United States and get a cheap source of labor, which they did. Mm-hmm. They took the legs out from under the unions, and they also sent the jobs over there.
Right.
It's like they shot themselves in the foot.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That was the one difference between the United States, Japan, and Germany. Japan and Germany were both industrial powerhouses, and they were very careful to keep the industrial base intact. They fought tooth and nail to keep their jobs at home. But they're basically more racist because they're racially more homogenous than the United States is. In the United States, we're a polyglot. I mean, nobody even looks like each other, even in families sometimes. Yeah. So there's no sense of national identification. Mm-hmm. So there's no web holding the thing together. So they did something that Japan and Germany fought tooth and nail to resist, to keep the jobs at home. We sent the jobs overseas to China. China exploded, but they exploded based on a credit-based demand in the United States. All right, it was insane, the amount of credit that we had here. And then when that credit bubble finally burst, and it was a 25-year credit bubble, we started in the mid-1980s, all right? But when that credit bubble burst in 2008, it went down with a thud, and the Chinese, late to the game of capitalism, put their foot to the metal, increased their money supply by 150% in the next year to keep from sinking into a collapse. Well, now, after 2.5 years, the chickens are coming home to roost. China is in trouble. Its property bubble finally stopped it last year. It's starting to disassemble. The stock market bubble, actually stopped 7 months before, half a year before. And now China is they're shaky. Everyone's shaky. We're all shaky. It's like we're all on the same petri dish and the same problem is affecting everybody differently. But in the end, we're all going to be melt. We're all toast. We're all toast.
You sound like Dr. Mark Faber here. We're all going to die.
well, Faber's right. Your doctor will tell you that if he's got the guts to do it.
It's just a question of when,
and that's
right?
the surest bet of all.
Just a question of when.
Yeah.
But yeah, this whole thing, we've been living in a fantasy world where wealth could be created at the stroke of a keyboard or the push of a printing press, and that's not how wealth gets created, right?
No, it's a total distortion. It's a distortion that happened because the bankers were able to put debt-based money into play, create money out of thin air. What they really did is they leveraged precious metals in the beginning. Now there's no precious metal backing it all. But that's how they did it. There used to be real money in the system. That's gone, and now you've got bankers, everybody indebted to the bankers. And one little sarcastic remark I made is that it isn't rocket science to figure out that when the indebted can't pay back what they owe, their creditors are in the same problem that the debtors are.
Yeah, the debtor owns the bank.
Yeah, and he can't pay it back, so the bank is insolvent. The banks are only existing because the governments, which live off of bank loan money, have been propping up the banks with obligating the debtors beyond their capacity to repay. That's what national sovereign debt is. So you've got a Ponzi scheme that's collapsing it's imploding. Imploding is the right word because it's the internal dynamic that's breaking down. Finally breaking down after 300 years.
Yeah, finally. So what's the world look like after this? Are we really going back?
I think a better world is going to come about. I think the transition is going to be remarkably different, and it's going to be a shock to most people. But I think this is a historic cycle that we're in that encompasses a cycle that we haven't even seen. We don't even get what's going on. But I tell you, Kerry, I know what this makes everybody think. It scares the holy crap out of them, and it should,
rightfully,
because our only security is the past. Well, the past is going, but humanity is a lot bigger than the past. Bucky Fuller saw this coming. He said this is a universally intended crisis that is going to transform humanity, and we're going to end it with a far better world. I believe that too, but I believe the transition is going to be nasty. Bucky said this is an unprecedented crisis, and I believe it.
I agree with you too. As my grandmother used to say, what was. And now we're moving into the future, so it's best to be prepared for it. Gold, silver, and other precautions. Hey, Darryl, where do we find you, and do you take any emails from viewers?
Yeah, I rarely take emails. I just let those go. But it's my website is www.darschon.com. It's now on a subscription basis, but within a month, I think we're going free.
I love the site. Your articles are incredibly scholarly. There's no fear-mongering. There's no emotion in them. I mean, when I first got into metals about 4 years ago, when it first dawned on me what was going on here, your site was one of the first that I found. It was invaluable. It really gave me an insight that I didn't have prior to. And look, if anybody has any questions for Darryl, just send them to kl@kerrylutz.com. I'll forward the really heavy ones over to Darryl that I can't answer, okay?
Thanks, Gary.
Hey, it's always a pleasure, Darryl.
Okay, thanks, Gary.
Take care.